Hey, Magic fans, welcome back. This is the captain speaking here on Capnclydes MTG. We're back for everybody's favorite format, Pauper. That's right, it's Legacy Vintage Light, and it's only light because the price tag is light. But it's one of the funnest formats, and everybody loves it, just like I do. So let's talk about if Thunder Junction has anything for the format. So before we get started, don't forget, comment, like, subscribe. It's free, supports the channel. We've broke 800. Now we need to break 1,000. Well, let's try 900 first. Once we get to 1,000, we're going to have some giveaways. It's going to be a good time. So, with all that said, links in the description. Check them out. But anyway, let's get onto it to see what Pauper has to offer, or what Thunder Junction has to offer Pauper, or something like that. Anyway, we're going to start off with number 5. We have Spring Splasher. So, me and my buddies don't really agree on this one, but that's fine. But I think it's something to be said for a blue and 1, 2/1 that when it attacks, the defending player has their creature get a -3/-0. Yes, they can still block, and maybe you won't kill it. But they also won't kill yours. And if you got some good combat tricks, maybe you just will. Not a lot to look at when it comes to Pauper, and sometimes we don't have a whole lot of stuff that can make a big splash. But these blue decks, this can be a thing when the chips are down, you need to swing in. This might be what you're looking for. Could this be the start of a blue deck where the defending player always has no power to defend with? That would be an interesting deck, an interesting concept. Tell me in the link below if you think there's something possible like that. Because definitely would be interesting. So anyway, moving on to number 5. What we have here is the Reckless Lackey. This 1 red, 1/2 with first strike and haste is probably going to be the new Monastery Swiftspear. Now, it doesn't have prowess, and that's okay. It does have first strike, which might be better. In a format where combat tricks are abound and you have to block, is it good enough to actually make the things happen? So we've got lots of good spells that pump creatures, and the ability to for your creature to have first strike so that if it is blocked, you always win the combat, may be exactly what we've been looking for here since the loss of Monastery Swiftspear. Now, with that said also, if it's late in the game and you can't get this guy through, a red and 2, you can sacrifice it to draw a card and make a treasure to pump up your mana. So, it's not dead like Monastery Swiftspear would be if you had an empty hand, or if you drew it late in the game with nothing else. There is an actual way to use this card past the first couple turns if you happen to draw it late game. So, I think this card has some possibilities, and I think we'll definitely see it get in play inside the Pauper format. And, I mean, how could you not like this monkey? I mean, look at this badass Mama Jamma. Just, he's a machine. Anyway. Moving on, next we have at number 3, the Voracious Varmint. So this green and 1/2/2 common with Vigilance is only okay on surface, but the ability for this creature to be able to sacrifice to destroy an artifact or enchantment could be the one thing that makes this card playable. There are several artifact affinity style decks inside the Pauper format, and being able to start 4 creatures that have the ability to kill anything that's an artifact or enchantment may be powerful enough to actually make a starting deck in green. Because let's be honest, if you're not playing against an enchantment or artifact that you want to kill, it is a 2/2 with Vigilance, and that's not terrible. It's a lot better than just running Disenchant. I mean, at least this thing's got legs and a couple arms. If you're not careful, you'd be catching these hands, these Voracious Varmint hands. Anyway. Next, moving on, we have at number 2, Dance of the Tumbleweeds. This thing seems really good to me. Now, I put it high, and I know some people probably don't agree with it, but for a green and 2, or green and 1, and if a +1, you get to search your library for a basic land card or a desert, put it on the battlefield untapped. It's a bit expensive for mana ramp. I get that. However, I think the ability late game for this thing for 1 and 4 to make a XX token creature that's the size of your lands, maybe something that pushes this over the top in decks like Slime Against Humanity. Maybe not. I mean, probably a Slime Against Humanity deck probably just wants a bunch of Slimes Against Humanity. But at the end of the day, this could be just as good. And getting lands out of your way is probably a good option as well. I think it's playable. Maybe it's not. But for me, I think this is definitely something we might see in the pauper format. Just because we're getting more cards that have more options. So, and moving on, the number 1 card in pauper is this little fella, this Cat Beast mount, the Trained Arnix. White and 1 for a 3/1. It's right on par for those white decks. And while it attacks, if you saddled it, it gains first strike to turn and scry 1. Now, saddle for 2 isn't hard because most white decks or any deck for a 1 or 2 mana creature has a 2 power on the front. And that's the big part here because as a 3/1 first striker, this is hard to kill, especially if you've got a couple pump spells or some combat tricks. This thing is going to be damn near impossible to get off the battlefield. Now, with that said, there's also lots of things that do 1 damage, so it can be removed from the battlefield with sorceries, instants, and what have you. And I think that's okay, because it would be worse if there was no cheap or easy way to remove this other than creatures, because with this thing having first strike, you'd have to have so many creatures in front of it, it would probably just be absurd. But there are many ways to take care of 1 toughness creatures in pauper, and some of those decks do run that. So as good as this is, it's not going to break the format, but it is definitely a welcome addition to those white decks. And I think we're going to start seeing it see some play because, man, it just seems good. So there you have it, guys. Thanks a lot for sticking around. I do appreciate it. Stay tuned. We have Thunder Junction box opening series will be starting around the 20th. As long as I get my cards in the mail like I'm supposed to. Let's not hold our breath. But hey, we can always hope. With that being said, we do have 4 boxes. We'll have plenty of play boxes coming in, a whole case of collector boxes. So we'll hopefully get a chance to see a couple textured foils and some other weird stuff inside those collector boxes and see just exactly how good this set's going to do. After that, we have Modern Horizons 2 coming up. That's going to be pretty sweet. And if you're even still in there and you're watching the video, been playing every Sunday at 6 p.m., doing a live stream of Arena. I think this next week I may go ahead and top off this Sunday with a little Helldivers or maybe even Diablo 4. Tell me in the comment section if you wouldn't mind taking a look at that for an hour or so. Just do something a little different because, I mean, Arena's Arena. Nothing's really going to change until Thunder Junction comes out, so it does kind of get boring every now and then. Or feel free to get down in that comment section. Tell me what you'd like to see on Arena. Be more than happy to build a deck, play it for you, give you guys an idea of what it looks like, my take on it. Remember, Arena does have Brawl, other formats like Standard Ranked that we play quite often, so I'll give any of them a try to some degree. If you want to hook me up in the comment section, tell me what you're looking to see, or if you have any advice. So, with all that said, guys, try to remember Thunder Junction's coming out. It's going to be a good time. And, well, there's no serialized cards, but we haven't pulled a serialized card in the channel in quite a while. They have become quite the hard thing to get. And they just got cheaper in the process. That makes no sense. Harder to get, cheaper to buy. That's normally not how it works. But maybe it does tell us a little something about how the market's going. So, with all that said, guys, thanks a lot for watching. Until next time, be kind. And as always, I hope to see you across from the game table. Who knows? Maybe we'll be playing Helldivers or something for a change.